Welcome back into Buckeye Beat. I'm Noah Weiskopf, joined here as always by Tyler Danburg. The Buckeyes have officially completed their out-of-conference schedule more or less without a sweat as expected. To recap, Ohio State beat two MAC schools in Akron 52-6 in week 1, Western Michigan 56-0 in week 2, and then most recently they downed the Sun Belt's Marshall Thundering Herd 49-14. Despite the big wins against non-Power 5 opponents, there's certainly a lot to break down, and there remain some questions as the Buckeyes head into Big Ten play. But against Marshall, the rushing attack stole the show yet again. Quinshon Judkins carried the ball 14 times, turned it into 173 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. 14 for 173 is good for a ridiculous 12.4 yards per carry, Tyler, and a big thanks to an 86-yard touchdown. And his running mate, Travion Henderson, wasn't too far off with the averages. He carried the ball only 6 times, but amassed 76 yards on those opportunities, which equated to 12.7 yards per carry. So pretty close there. And he also stiff-armed somebody into tomorrow, as Will Howard said, en route to a 40-yard touchdown.
Well, no, Ohio State as a unit averaging 70 yards per carry on the ground this year. That's second in the country. Quinshon Judkins is 5th among active running backs in college football in career yards. Travion Henderson right behind him in 6th. You factor in Donovan Jackson back on the offensive line at left guard, the Buckeyes' rushing attack is maximized.
And, you know, it's big because they're allowing themselves to keep each other fresh, right? And that's the big key here. Henderson was the lead back last season, and now he's off the field. When he's off the field, he's cheering on Quinshon as he's running while Travion's down the sideline. So with Chip's, handprints all over this offense, the rushing attack is going to be a focal point, and especially heading now into conference play. Just really impressive overall to see the two be so selfless, but yet both potential first-round picks in the NFL draft come April. Ryan Day said Tuesday that he's happy with the confidence that the running game is building on, but he didn't want to say they're excelling, at least yet.
Yeah, I don't feel good about anything. That's just my mindset. Yeah, I don't. And that has to be everybody's mindset. You start to feel good about something, and complacency can sneak up on you fast.
Tyler, how big of an impact do you think this Buckeyes rushing attack will have on the team come Big Ten play?
Well, it's crucial, Noah, because the run game through 3 matchup has been the identity. While it might give the opposition a little bit more to scout, if you can establish an offensive identity early, that's going to be crucial. And it also opens up the passing game, and we know that as well. The receiving cores can hit their home runs just like the rushing attack can. But when the MSU secondary is expecting the run, that really opens up the passing game.
Now to the offensive line. Donovan Jackson started his first game of the season at left guard after not playing in the first 2 games due to a lower body injury he suffered in the preseason. Tegra Shabola was named the starting right guard, but Austin Sarevald rotated in, and Ryan Day said on several occasions that the plan is to keep bringing him in as Sarevald has really earned his right to continue playing. And it all goes back to this idea of building depth. Speaking of building depth, defensively, the Buckeyes were without defensive tackle Tyleik Williams this past Saturday as he's dealing with an injury. And we know that Williams has practiced Wednesday and then Thursday, but his availability is still uncertain and unclear for Saturday. But the depth behind Williams wasn't super impressive and needed some developing.
I think, again, it was a mixed bag. Do we want to see more consistent play? Yeah, we do. Whether like the 4th down stop by Tywone Malone was a really good play. He took an adjustment that happened in game, and that happened on the sideline, and he made it on the field and made that play. I thought he had a really good play in a screen. He put his foot in the ground, redirected, and made a play.
I know through the first 2 games the defense hasn't allowed an opponent in their red zone, but that all changed Saturday against Marshall. Not only did they allow Marshall in the red zone on multiple different occasions, but it really just felt like they were allowing this Marshall offense to march down the field. It wasn't sporadic plays. It was really well-developed drives, and it wasn't just dominant defense that we've seen in the past. And against an inferior opponent, Tyler, I'm curious, what did you see out of this defense, and are you worried at all now heading into Big Ten play?
The defense was thrown off on that first drive especially, and linebacker Cody Simon pointed it out. Quarterback Stone Earl for the Thundering Herd certainly posed a different challenge as a run-first type of quarterback. But this is a defense that is resilient, and they showed that by allowing just 7 points after that first drive score. Defensive end Caden Curry talked last night at media availability about how physical this team is in practice, and Cody Simon obviously was really harping on communication among the linebacking core to try and correct those issues against a run-first quarterback like Michigan State is going to try and throw at them in Aiden Childs.
We'll see if they can be more consistent now heading into Big Ten play. And looking ahead now to Michigan State, the Buckeyes will depart Friday, take a plane up to East Lansing for a 7:30 p.m. kick Saturday with the Spartans, and it's only available on Peacock. Now, the Spartans are an interesting team. They have a new head coach this season in Jonathan Smith, who came from Oregon State and brought quarterback Aiden Childs with him. I can't not mention the fact that Aiden Childs told people to take the over on points before their first game, and then proceeded to narrowly beat FAU 16-10 in a slugfest. But anyways, after that, the Spartans have since beat Maryland, Prairie View, and then lost to Boston College 23-19 last weekend. Aiden Childs provides a new challenge for the Buckeyes that they have yet to see, a true dual threat quarterback who can really beat you with his legs as well as his arm. Tyler, what are you looking for out of the Buckeyes defense to try to slow Aiden Childs down?
One word: pressure. The quicker the D-line can get to Aiden Childs, the higher his turnover risk is. 4 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, including 3 against BC. Really good defense, nonetheless. He's a true sophomore and still young in his first year as a starting quarterback. This is going to be his biggest test yet.
And not only pressure. When you get pressure on a quarterback, it forces them to not only make bad decisions, but then it allows this elite defensive back room to make plays on the ball, which we know that they are capable of. But last year, they weren't really able to force those turnovers. We'll see now heading into Big Ten play if they are able to turn the tide. And not only will the Spartans have to take on the Buckeyes this weekend, and then they'll have to travel out to Eugene, Oregon to take on the Ducks next weekend. So not the easiest 2 pair of games for Michigan State. But let's look around the country at some of the big games here this weekend, because there are some real big ones. And the biggest game of the week, without question, number 2 Georgia heads to Tuscaloosa to take on the number 4 ranked Crimson Tide. And man, what a game. This promises to just be a total classic. Georgia's a 2-point favorite on the road here in Kalen DeBoer's first true test, and I think Jalen Milroe and this Alabama squad needs to really settle in early and relax. The crowd is going to be absolutely crazy, and I think Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, paired with the 17-year-old Ryan Williams out wide, and I think they get it done in front of a crazy, crazy crowd. What do you think, Tyler?
This can't be hyperbole to say that this could be the game of the year, right?
Absolutely.
You look at Georgia, they've won 42 straight regular season games dating back to November of 2020 when they lost to Florida. Alabama was the last team to beat them 2 weeks earlier in Tuscaloosa. That's the last home win against Georgia. Now, the Dogs' defense is the only school now this year to not allow a touchdown. Bama's going to find the end zone. We know that, but I think the Dogs bark back and get the victory, at least by 7 points.
It would be a big win on the road for Georgia. Okay, a Big Ten matchup to watch, not including Ohio State. Number 19 Illinois travels to University Park in a clash with the Nittany Lions. Penn State is 18-point home favorites in a top 10 or top 25 ranked matchup, and nothing to look over. I think this one will be close, but I do think Drew Aller and Penn State's new downfield passing attack, they're second in the country in yards per completion, quite the opposite from last year. I think the Nittany Lions win a close one.
And this isn't the whiteout game that'll be Washington, but it's going to have a similar atmosphere. Illinois is flying high. They're starting 4-0 for the second time since 1951. They're 4-0 with 2 AP top 25 wins. That's the most in that span of franchise history. Quarterback Luke Altmaier might be the real deal. 10-plus TDs, no interceptions still, only quarterback in college football to do so. He's going up against a really tight and tough Penn State defense. But I'm going to disagree with you. I know that doesn't happen too often, but I think Illinois is going to pull off a major upset in Happy Valley.
It's certainly possible. I think it's going to be a great one. All right, lastly, the Buckeyes, as we mentioned, will head north, take on the Spartans of Michigan State. It's what Ohio State struggled to do in 2023. Like I mentioned earlier, they must force those turnovers, and Childs makes mistakes, and the pressure up front needs to affect him early and often. And the Buckeyes are nearly 24-point favorites here on the road. I like Ohio State to win the game, but I actually don't think they'll cover.
I agree with you. And I think the red area is going to decide this game. Michigan State's 5th in red zone defense in the country. That's been one of their identities. Keep an eye on the former Wisconsin Badger, Jordan Turner, in the middle. But if Michigan State can't get red zone stops, and if Ohio State can take advantage of some turnovers and giveaways that Michigan State might throw at them, I think they're going to at least take a 20-plus point victory. I'm going to go 38-10.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Buckeye Beat. For Tyler Danburg, I'm Noah Weiskopf. Enjoy the weekend.